would help if I clicked on the right thing. Hello, everyone! Welcome to the conclusion of my little separate videos of E3 coverage. I just watched the final official giant E3 press conference, which was Sony. We're going to talk about it right now. Boy, did they have a lot to talk about, but at the same time, the Sony press conference actually had some really shocking omittals. In fact, if you actually look around this template that a viewer made for me to do this, not even all these games showed up on the Sony press conference. Some of them really shocking, like this one right here. Like, what the hell happened that some of these games just didn't show up? I don't know. But anyway, we're going to talk about that right now. So let's do it. Let's talk Sony. Let's just get right into it, okay? So the Sony press conference starts, and on the stage are a bunch of, appear to be like Middle Eastern musicians, and they're playing like the sitar and these like really cultural instruments from that kind of Middle Eastern culture. And the music's really nice, and it's coming to a build, and then all of a sudden, water starts cascading down behind them, and big artistic designs of water squirting up behind them, and everyone's like, well, this is nice, but I don't have a freaking clue what the hell we're looking at right now. Like, what could this possibly be, right? So, it goes on for about, I don't know, I would say roughly, now people are saying, oh, it was Indian. Well, whatever. It was Indian then. Excuse me for not being the most culturally sensitive person. You know what? I'm gonna become an SJW. That's it. I'm dyeing my hair a weird color. I'm gonna wear big googly fucking eyeglasses I don't even need. I'm gonna start drinking caramel macchiatos every goddamn day, and I'm gonna learn all my fucking cultures right goddamn now. All right, enough. Let's just move on. Let's get to the point. So, the music finally stops, and it was actually just an advertisement for Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and they played this nice gameplay trailer. It shows Chloe, and I forgive me because I forgot the name of the other woman who's in it, and it's basically like Uncharted 4 Part 2. It really is. It looks like it's a whole other game to itself. This is the standalone DLC that we'll be releasing in late August. In fact, I'm looking at the calendar right now. I believe it's August 22nd. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's when it's coming out. Nadine. Everyone in the stream chat just said Nadine. Thank you. I completely had forgotten her name. So, yes. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. I'm excited. I love Uncharted. So, to play more Uncharted when I thought the series was over, now they're doing standalone stories. Hey, I'm in. So, good stuff, and the game looks good. Then they actually showed, it looked like a frozen wasteland, but then you see creatures walking through it, and everyone's like, oh, is this God of War? But then as they get closer, you realize they're robots. You're like, wait a minute, this just looks like Horizon. And it was. It was Horizon Zero Dawn actually is going to get a large-scale story-based DLC called The Frozen Wilds later on in 2017. They didn't really give a date. It's coming this year at some point. Being that Horizon Zero Dawn ended up being like a really big hit earlier this year, I think that it's going to end up being pretty popular. So, hey, all right, great. I'm in on that too. I liked Horizon. I certainly wasn't blown away by Horizon the way a lot of other people were, because I played other games of which that game was kind of based on, but I definitely thought it was a solid game, so I'm definitely going to be checking out that DLC. So it seems like there's two standalone DLCs, Uncharted and Horizon. Kind of weird, right? That there's like these weird standalone DLCs. I don't know, but looks good to me. Okay, so now we finally got to see some actual gameplay. Days Gone. This was the game that was announced last year at E3. It's the zombie apocalypse survival horror game where you're a biker and you ride around on your motorcycle and you got to dodge different kinds of hazards and stuff on the road. But then when you get off the road, you got to worry not only about zombies trying to eat you, but also humans as well. And they actually showcased that pretty significantly in this gameplay trailer, where the guy was like knocked off his bike and then he had to fight hand to hand against like a group of like a bunch of dudes to survive. And then he ended up going to some camp because he was trying to rescue some guy from his camp that had been kidnapped. It was pretty cool because he was avoiding, like, using stealth to avoid people, so it kind of looked almost like The Last of Us, but also like Metal Gear and stuff like that with that kind of element. And then when he finally broke into the camp, he saw that there was this big tower, and at the top of the tower was the person he was trying to rescue, but it was surrounded by guards, so he used a bomb to blow up a wall, and it attracted all these zombies, and they ran in and basically fought off all the guards, and he just snuck right by and went up and rescued the person. But then as he was rescuing the person, a giant fucking zombie bear came out of the woods and was about to attack them. So in this game, it's not just about zombie humans, it's about zombie animals too, which is kind of weird because a lot of the zombie lore that's out there right now, just think about it, The Walking Dead and stuff like that, they don't tackle zombie animals, right? They really don't. They almost never do. Instead, it's usually about the humans. But there's a ton of animals that would probably be zombified too if the virus affected them, so it's kind of cool that in this game they're going to tackle that. I like that. So, the game looks really good. Like, I was very impressed with how the game looked. It was actually funny because they cut away for a second while they were showing the gameplay, and on the Sony stage, they actually had actors and, like, acrobats hanging from the fucking ceiling of the stage looking like zombies, dangling like this. So it was kind of cool for the people who were there in person. But the game looks great, and it's funny because it doesn't have a release date at all. They didn't even hint at, like, when it's coming out, which kind of disappoints me because I was hoping it would be like either this year or next year, but they didn't give a date, which makes me believe it's probably a couple years out still. But it was definitely good to see the game in development. The game looks good in my opinion. I'm looking forward to that one. So the guy comes out, and I forget his name. I apologize because I always forget the Sony guy's name, the American Sony guy. But he's the guy that's there every year. He comes out, he says, hello everyone, welcome. It's all about the games, just like it always is with us at Sony. We're going to talk about a ton of games today, so here we go. So then they start playing another trailer. And at first it was hilarious because no one knew what the hell it was. People were like, it's Final Fantasy. No, it's a new action game. Oh, Dark Souls. Is this Bloodborne 2? And then within a few seconds, everyone figured it out when they started seeing the animations. Monster Hunter. Now, this is huge because Monster Hunter has been a Nintendo exclusive series for quite a long time. Been a couple exceptions, all right? I realize I don't think it was always 100% Nintendo. But for the most part, Monster Hunter as of late has been a Nintendo-centric franchise. And now they're breaking out of that mold, and they're going cross-platform. So it's actually going to be both, I believe, both on PS4 and Xbox One. And I think it's going to have a later on PC release, if I saw it correctly. So yeah, Monster Hunter World. Drastically improved graphics from any previous Monster Hunter game. It looks like there's going to be elements of monsters fighting each other while you're trying to fight them and everything. Fans of the Monster Hunter series must fucking be ecstatic because I hate to say it, I really feel a game like that has been held back by the hardware that it's been limited to for quite some time because they always wanted to be on Monster Hunter. Because they always wanted to be on Nintendo, and therefore Nintendo literally has the worst hardware of anyone. Always has the worst fucking hardware, and so they always had to scale back maybe the breadth of what they wanted to do with the series, and now they can actually try to, excuse me, to branch out a little more now that they're going back onto the modern consoles again. So pretty cool. I'm curious to see, how it turns out. Will I play it? I don't know. And the reason I say that is because I did play a Monster Hunter game a few years back, if you remember. It was the one on the Nintendo 3DS. The Monster Hunter series is kind of a grind. Like, there's a lot of fucking grinding in the Monster Hunter series. So if I were to make that a game that was a successful playthrough, probably would be a lot about stream interaction. Like, as I'm doing the grinding gameplay, I'd have to be talking with people on stream about other stuff to try to keep people occupied, or else it's probably going to be boring as fucking dirt, because when I played it on 3DS, it was boring. I fully admit, I know it was boring as shit, because it was grind. So I guess we'll see. Alright, I guess we'll see, but I'll have to think about it. So they did announce that's coming out early 2018, by the way. Okay. Up next, this one really confused me, this next one, alright? They show a game, and it's like, big monsters, so you immediately think, oh, big monsters, is it Ico? Is it maybe Shadow of the Colossus? And it was Shadow of the Colossus, and I recognized right off the bat a bunch of the bosses from the original Shadow of the Colossus game that I already played the HD remaster back on PS3 a few years ago, remember? And then they announced, it's like, what was it? It was Shadow of the Colossus, and that was it. And the graphics look like modern PS4 graphics, so I guess they're remaking the game again. So it's a remake of a remake, because they already remade the game for PS3, now they're remaking it again for PS4, and, some people are asking me, am I going to play it? Probably not. I don't know, because if it's the same game, it was weird, because definitely some of those bosses are the same bosses from the original game, but without actually seeing the fight, you don't know, will the actual gameplay mechanics be the same, or did they change them? Did they change the bosses, so now it actually feels like a more unique game, and it's different? I don't know. So it confused me because it didn't really clearly explain in what was at this press conference the full information. Now, maybe they will. Maybe they're going to have an offline presentation, you know, or, you know, at the show floor, which starts tomorrow, by the way. Maybe they'll have more information. They'll be showing, oh, no, this is a full-on remake where we redid all the bosses or whatever. But that wasn't apparent from the trailer they showed, okay? And they did say that is coming out in 2018 as well, but no actual solid information as to when, okay? Then they played a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite story-based trailer. Apparently what's going on is in the storyline of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which, yes, it will have apparently a full-on story mode, which is actually kind of rare for Capcom. Usually their games at launch do not have full-on story mode, so I guess they finally realized, oh shit, NetherRealm does it, but Namco Bandai does it, every other fucking game does it, and we don't. Maybe we actually have to try to compete, and because people just aren't just buying our games by default anymore. So they're actually putting a full-on story mode into the game. The story mode is that basically the Marvel and the Capcom universes are attempting to be fused by Ultron and Sigma, because somehow Ultron and Sigma, from their respective, you know, universes, intertwined and became one entity, and now they're actually trying to combine both universes. And it's funny because in the plot of this game, they have Thanos, who's like one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe, captured, and it's all the heroes teaming up and talking to Thanos about maybe we'll release Thanos and have him fight, you know, Ultron Sigma and see if he can beat him, because maybe we can't. So it seems like it's going to be a plot line where all the heroes from the various universes team up to try to take out Ultron Sigma, which is an interesting premise. Could be cool. I hope that the story turns out well. They literally showed zero gameplay. Zero of this game. Instead, all they showed was cutscenes from what's probably going to be the single-player story mode. But they did drop a small bomb. It wasn't like a gigantic monster bomb like we had at Ubisoft with the Beyond Good and Evil 2 announcement. But it was a little itty-bitty bomb. And it went boop, boop, boop. And the bomb was that they are releasing a story demo right now, apparently. So I guess right now, I don't know because I haven't looked. The press conference just ended and I'm doing this video. But apparently on PS4 and probably Xbox One, you could get a story-based demo for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite right now. I don't know. I'll have to look out, you know, maybe tonight. What I'm thinking is I'll probably do it tomorrow. So for those who are watching this live, no, I'm not going to do that tonight. Maybe tomorrow on stream, if it's there, I'll play it. And I'll balance that in with everything else I'm doing tomorrow. Okay? Okay, all right, then they continued on. You know what I should do before I continue on? I should do shout-outs because I saw people have been cheering and doing stuff, so hold on a second. Shout-out to, hold on, wow, holy crap, we had a bunch of people. Mr. Feltz did a 10-bit cheer. Thank you, Mr. Feltz. Shout out to Cheese Fries, who did a 55-bit cheer, and he said, no clue who anyone is in Destiny 2 because I only played the first Destiny when it was released. We'll talk about that in a moment, because they did talk about Destiny 2 during this press conference. Kavoris did a 30-bit cheer. He says, Phil, how many fidget spinners do I own? I have about 47 of them. And what I do is when I actually, so you don't see it in here, as soon as I'm off camera, immediately I just start balancing fidget spinners as I walk through the halls of my house, okay? So I'm just the fidget master. I even have one custom made. It's like right here, bounces on my nose. And shout out to Turtleneckins, who subscribed to the channel. What am I talking about with those fidget spinners? Anyway, Turtleneckins, thank you for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate that. And huge shout out to Reginator9001, who did a $20 tip. Thank you, Reginator. And he says, Nintendo Spotlight will dominate. Get ready for a Metroid game. And I will add, because my body is always ready, bitches. All right, I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow with that Nintendo announcement, right? And then Hyperior just did a 21... Hyperior 21... just did a 20-bit cheer. Okay. And Sonic Wii did a 10-bit cheer and said, how about that Butterface Chun-Li? Yeah, you know what? We should bring that up. What the fuck? Chun-Li looks terrible in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It looks like she's deformed. Her face doesn't look human. It's like the Elephant Man or something. I don't know what the fuck happened. And the thing is, the other characters look fine. So they only picked on Chun-Li for some reason. And I'm sure they're not going to fix it now. I mean, it's June. They've only got till, what, September till this game comes out. I thought they're going to change her whole character model. What the fuck happened there, Capcom? Jesus. Someone has a fucking grudge against Chun-Li. Maybe someone's a Street Fighter V player and got their ass whooped by Chun-Li all the time, so they're pissed, so they made her look ugly in this fucking game or something. I don't know. That was some messed up stuff. Okay. Moving on. Call of Duty Curly Dirty World War II. Call of Duty World War II. Looks pretty good. But I think we knew it would look good. Why would we know it would look good? Because these first-person shooters have gotten so diluted with the modern warfare, future warfare, double jumping, wall running, backflipping, fucking kill streaking, nuking, calling in a fucking drone, transforming into a robot fucking panther and ripping someone's balls off, gimmick games, that obviously any return to true form of a first-person shooter is going to be better than the shit that fucking Activision has been shoveling out for the past several years. So we just saw it last year with Battlefield 1. They returned back to their roots and the game was great and everyone bought it. So now we're doing some of the same things here with Call of Duty World War II, going back to their roots. You know, the first 3 Call of Duty games were all old school combat. They're going back to it now and it actually looks pretty good. I really don't have much else to say about that because it doesn't look anything special or original. It just looks like a really solid old school style first person shooter. And yes, I am excited for it and I'm probably going to play it because it looks good to me. Okay. Then they went into their VR segment, to which sadly a lot of people who don't have PSVR got completely turned off. I knew that would happen because not a lot of people own PSVR. But you might say, but I heard that Sony sold 2 million units. Yes. Here's what you heard. Sony shipped 2 million units. Sony did not sell 2 million units. They shipped 2 million units worldwide to all the stores. We actually don't have real sales numbers of what they sold. And the vast majority of people who bought PSVR really enjoyed it at first. I did too. But let's face it, the amount of quality games that have come out for PSVR have been few and far between. Probably on 2 hands, I can count the amount of games that are actually worth buying on PSVR. Admittedly, recently I skipped a few, like Farpoint and Star Wars Bridge Crew. Only because I didn't even want to drop like 50, 60 bucks on a game when I knew after playing it for 20, 30 minutes with this headset that I was going to get tired and have to take a break, okay? So it's pretty much exactly what I thought. It's a gimmick. It was really popular at first because it was cheaper than all the other VR options, but at this point, most people are turned off to VR and don't care about it anymore. So now let's talk about what was announced for the VR lineup at E3. First of all, Skyrim. Okay. And it was funny because the footage they were actually playing, I'm not exaggerating. If you go back yesterday to Bethesda's press conference and you watch when Bethesda showed Skyrim on the Switch, look at that in-game gameplay footage and compare it with what was shown with the PSVR. Half of it is identical. They were just playing a fucking generic clip of Skyrim gameplay, like a montage of Skyrim gameplay. On both press conferences, the same gameplay. It wasn't completely the same, but some of the scenes were exactly the same. There were 2 big ogre dudes coming up, and you're going like this to try to fight them. And then the other one was a dragon, and you're shooting ice at a dragon. It looks exactly the fucking same. So it's a 7-year-old game. Yeah, it's great. Everyone loves Skyrim. How many fucking times are you going to play Skyrim? And again, I have to say it. PSVR, at least for me, uncomfortable after playing it for like 20, 30 minutes. Do you want to have to play a 45 to 50 hour long game and take a break every fucking half hour? Probably not. So, I don't know about that. Alright, the next game was called Star Child VR. It looks like it may be like a platformer because it shows a little girl character running around, but then all of a sudden this big robot helps her, like a monster was going to attack her, and a big robot like swipes out and punches the monster away and picks her up and helps her. But it's unclear. It doesn't really show any gameplay, so you don't really know what the game's going to be. And it looks like that is coming out at some point. The thing was, like, none of these games really had release dates except for one, which we'll get to. There was another game called The Inpatient, and this one, apparently you are a patient at a mental institution. You're checked in at a nut house. And I guess what's happening is you're having flashbacks to the past and to the present, and you're seeing horrific things, but at the same time, you can't really remember how you got in. So it looks like a unique VR experience where you're trying to figure out with different timelines and plot lines what's going on in this asylum. Okay, that one kind of intrigued me. That one actually looks unique, and it has a good narrative, and that one is one that I might consider playing. But no release date. All right, who wants to go fishing? Raise your hands. Who wants to go fishing right now? Enough of this. Let's just go fishing. All right, great. And now you can do it in the world of Final Fantasy 15 because Final Fantasy 15, Monster of the Deep Fishing VR game, comes out in September of 2017. Now, you may be maybe scratching your beard or scratching your head or scratching your balls or flipping your nipples and saying, I thought that there was supposed to be a VR game for Final Fantasy that was released. What happened to it? The answer is, it never came out. Right? Did it ever even fully come out or whatever? Because I remember when PSVR was announced last year and the big hype was that one of the things that's going to come out is a Final Fantasy 15 VR, fun experience or whatever, that it actually showed a fight against the behemoth and stuff like that. I mean, we never knew what it was going to be, if it was going to be like a long-ass game or whatever, but we didn't know what it was going to be, and they said, oh, don't worry, that'll be out by the end of 2016. Guess what? It never came out, right? Unless I missed it, never came out. And now this is what they're substituting it. Oh, this was the game, the fishing game. You didn't show us fishing at E3 last year. You showed us fighting the fucking behemoth in first person. So it seems to me like Square Enix completely lied. They literally just completely 100% lied to everyone. And they're not doing that VR experience they promised last year. And instead they're doing this stupid fishing game. Figure that one out. Okay. Up next was a game that looked like an incredibly generic first-person shooter called Bravo Team. Think like Rainbow Six or maybe even SOCOM, or I would also say Counter-Strike. And it looks boring, and it's called Bravo Team, the most generic, like, the generic American cheese name that you could fucking name any game, right? It's just so boring. And then, another game. Now, this one kind of intrigued me. Looks like it may be a combination action platformer, although I don't know how it's going to work because they didn't show gameplay. They just kind of showed what they're going for with the game, but they didn't actually show someone like playing it with the VR headset on. It has a little mouse, and everyone who was watching the stream was screaming, it looks like Stuart Little. It looks like Stuart Little, from literature. And it does kind of look like Stuart Little. He's got like a little ascot or something on, and he's got a big glaive on one hand with a sword, so he's a warrior mouse. I got flashbacks to like reading the Redwall book series from back in the day that I used to read when I was a kid. But he's fighting, monsters, he's solving puzzles, there's a giant freaking snake that comes after him, and the name of the game is called Moss. It actually looks interesting to me, but again, no release date. So, let's see. Skyrim VR, Star Child, The Impatient, Bravo Team, Moss, all coming for PSVR, but fuck knows if we know when. So if you own a PSVR, you play Farpoint, you play Star Trek Bridge Crew, you play Robinson the Journey, which came out a million months ago. I guess you can play Resident Evil 7 in VR, even though, like I said, like, you see what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's like, wow, I really needed that PSVR. And not one of the titles that they really announced there was like, wow, I'm so happy I have a PSVR because I would have missed out if I didn't have it. It's just kind of underwhelming at this point. At least that's my opinion, okay? Okay. Then finally, one of the big ones that everyone wanted to know more about, God of War. They show Kratos rowing in a boat with this kid who supposedly is his son, even though we probably know it's not really his son. At this point, it seems more like he's his protector or his guardian, and that this kid actually is from the Norse mythology area, so he knows all the Norse creatures and Norse gods, and he's actually giving Kratos tips about things in combat, about what he can do to fight them, because he knows what they are. Kratos is fighting with this cool shield. Think Captain America, but it transforms. It, like, molded it into different shapes as he was attacking, which was pretty cool. The graphics were fucking sick. Like, those were really fucking good graphics. I mean, way detailed graphics. And, of course, they'll say, only on PS4 Pro, I'm sure. But, hey, those visuals, I really liked them. And it was smooth. Dude, it didn't look like the frame rate was chopping or whatever. Looked really good, man. One of the highlights at the very end, they run into the World Serpent, which is of Norse mythology. One of the big figurehead creatures / gods of Norse mythology is the World Serpent. And it looked really awesome. And it actually reminded me of Falkor from, if you've ever seen The Neverending Story. If you've ever seen that movie, it kind of reminded me like Falkor, only way bigger. Looked pretty cool. So I liked it. I think this game's going to be excellent. Thumbs up, and it's coming out early 2018. That's good news, because we didn't know how far out that game was when it was announced last year. It's coming next year. Great. Excellent. Then, for the first time ever, we actually saw some real gameplay of the upcoming game from Quantic Dream. This is the same people who made Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. Detroit Become Human. and we actually now know what the game is about. Basically, in a futuristic Detroit, there are androids that have been created by humans to do tasks, to become, I guess, like slaves, right? Like if you're lonely, buy an android woman and fuck her. Or if you want, don't hire a housekeeper, buy a robot, have the android fucking clean your house and shit, right? But apparently some of the androids have gained self-consciousness and have realized that this is wrong and that they shouldn't be slaves, and they're trying to revolt and basically program all the other androids to also be independent thinkers. So it's cool. It shows a scenario where it's two characters, they're two androids, they're in the street, and they're going to try to break into this android facility and free all the androids. And they even show you there's multiple ways you could do it. You could go up and climb this way, or you could just steal a truck and drive right the fuck through the front door, or you could do all of this. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. I don't know how many of you may have actually read one of those. I mean, now I'm going way back to my childhood. These books where it's like you get to a certain page and it says there's three choices. Do you want to go left, right, or do you want to stay where you are? If you want to go left, go to this page. If you want to go right, go to this page. If you want to stay where you are, go to this page. And that's what it's kind of like. All these multiple scenarios and ways that you can do things. Obviously, the game's going to lend itself to massive replayability because you're going to want to go back and try all those various methods of doing things to see if they dramatically change the outcome of the game, right? So that's kind of cool. I definitely like that. And actually, it showed they are once again using real-life actors for the game, like they've done with all their previous Quantic Dream games. They got real actors. They did it again. In fact, if anyone watched the show The Following, it was only 2 seasons. It was a show that starred Kevin Bacon. There was this girl who was one of the main heads of like the cult in that show. She's in the game. I mean, I recognized her face to a T. I was like, that's definitely that girl. I don't know her name, but that's definitely her. And I get the feeling they're going to have other actors and people in there that we're going to recognize as well. So the game looks pretty good. But once again, I was very disappointed. No freaking release date. I mean, if anything, one of the biggest disappointments of the Sony conference, they basically updated us on all the games we wanted to hear about and gave us almost no concrete information on when we can play them. And that's frustrating as fuck because these are the same games we heard about last year, if not the year before, and we want more information and we're not getting it, and it's getting pretty disappointing, okay? Okay. Oh, the guy is from Grey's Anatomy. One classy squirrel in the stream chat said the main protagonist guy is on the Grey's Anatomy show. I've never seen Grey's Anatomy, so that's probably why I didn't recognize him. But I guarantee you, like, there's probably going to be multiple actors and actresses in it that are, faces we're all going to recognize from other stuff. And that's cool. I like that about the Quantic Dream games. I really do. All right. Then they showed off Destiny 2. And they showed no gameplay whatsoever. Basically, they just showed there's a new race of big, brutish guys that are coming in and basically tearing the shit out of everything. Okay, whatever. And it's coming out September 6th, which is weird to me because I thought it was coming out September 2nd. That's what I had on my calendar originally. But no, I'm not blind. I looked, it said September 6th in the trailer they played. And I looked it up. September 6th is a Wednesday. How often do you see a new game release on a Wednesday? Typically in the United States, it's either a Tuesday, or for worldwide releases, they're on a Friday. Why is it on a Wednesday? That is just really bizarre to me. So, Destiny 2. I'm still on the fence about playing it. I go by the old adage, okay? Fool me once, shame on you. But fool me twice, shame on me. I bought vanilla Destiny 1. I played all of the story-based content. I did some of the post-game raids and things. And I thought it was meh. I thought that it's great if you have a bunch of friends you want to cooperatively play this game with all the time. And really more of the entertainment factor would be because you're participating and having social interactions with your friends rather than the gameplay. The gameplay was boring and generic and it felt like a million other games I played before. But people tell me, people still insist to this day that if I had stuck with Destiny and I bought all the fucking expansions and spent another $100 goddamn or however fucking much it was, that the expansions were actually good and I should have stuck with the game. Sorry, I'm not investing hundreds of hours to get to the good stuff of a fucking game that should have been in the first 2 hours when I bought it for $60 originally. So for me, I'm kind of really on the fence about Destiny 2 because maybe they kept all those good things that people seem to have liked from the Destiny expansions and this game will be really good, or maybe they're going to say, wait, it worked last time, fucking do it again, give them a bare bones fucking game at launch, let them play it for 6 months and get nothing out of it, and then we'll fucking actually give them the good stuff for another 30-40 bucks a pop. And I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. So I don't know, I'm on the fence. All right. And then last in the press conference. And yes, I mean last in the press conference. Don't worry, I'll address that in a moment. Because as I said, take a look around me and think about all the games I've talked about. I covered every game they've talked about so far. So there were some huge omissions we're going to talk about at the end of this video. But anyway, the final game they showed off was Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game that's going to be coming out. And it shows that it's kind of like, at least in some parts, the Batman Arkham series, where Spider-Man's going to be using, like, the rafters or girders to kind of go above his enemies and swoop down and take them out with stealth web, disabling attacks. But then he also has melee flowing combat like he did in his other Spider-Man games and just like Batman did in the Batman games. And it seems like all that's in there. It also seems like they've got new environmental interactions. So, for example, he was fighting on top of a constructive, or a building that was under construction. And so there were big girders and stuff hanging. And he had like 3 enemies in front of him. And he used his web to pull a girder forward. And it swung and knocked them all off, all out of the combat. So it was pretty cool in that event. I liked that. That looked pretty good. Then they engage on a giant chase. Okay? Basically, they found out that there's the head of a gang is this Asian guy. I don't know who the hell he was, but he had just like superpowers. He's like a mutant almost. So Spider-Man's chasing this helicopter as it goes through the city, and there's quick time events, but there's also motion with his webs to get around the city. So there's free-form motion just like there were in previous Spider-Man games, but there's also going to be quick time events and stuff to happen. And then finally he takes out the chopper, and then the trailer ends and all of that. And then at the very end of the press conference, there was a Easter egg, because a kid is walking up and taking pictures of the helicopter that Spider-Man had stopped in the webbing, and this other kid says, "Miles, come on, man, you can't just be sitting there, we gotta get out of here." It was Miles Morales, who actually is the new Spider-Man, or I don't know if he still is, but at one point he was Spider-Man, not Peter Parker. So maybe he'll be in the game. That could be pretty cool. So, that was the Sony press conference. Now, wait a minute, right? Really? I mean, we've got some pretty fucking big elephants in the room to address. First of all, just looking around me here, what happened to Shenmue 3, right? Which was greenlit and everything. We have no update on that game. That's a huge one. What the fuck happened to The Last of Us 2? Nothing. Not even a blip. Nothing on The Last of Us 2. I mean, if anything, that's telling me that they're way out on The Last of Us 2, and they're not even close to having it done. So maybe we're talking 2-3 years out, or else they would at least have shown something, right? I mean, to show nothing at E3, and that was the one that a lot of people were expecting to be the big bombshell for Sony that was going to get people, wow, awesome, look at this awesome gameplay. No information about it. Was kind of bizarre. They didn't even mention Gran Turismo. They didn't even mention Ni no Kuni. Now, apparently, from what I'm understanding, those games will be at E3 this week on the show floor, so we should be able to get information if we want it, but not talking about those big, high-profile... They didn't even talk about a real RPG. I mean, they had Monster Hunter. They didn't talk about a real RPG at all, and it's Sony, who's, like, synonymous with good RPGs. How do you not talk about Ni no Kuni? So, for me, I was pretty confused that they focused on certain things but not others. It was almost like they really wanted this conference to only be an hour long for some reason, and they didn't show off some of the games that I think people would have loved to. Even, let's face it, Shenmue 3, probably not even close to being ready. But at least if you give us a taste, right? If you give me a little taste, then maybe there would have been something there, so I at least know that everything's going good with the development of the game, right? Now also, and this is what also got me, no Bloodborne 2 at all, right? We all expected Bloodborne 2. We got nothing whatsoever about Bloodborne 2, which we're assuming is going to be a PS4 exclusive, but we didn't get any, nothing about it, okay? But the thing that really got me about the press conference, so I just announced all these games. I'm going to go through again every game. Ready? An expansion for Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, which we already knew about but looks good, Monster Hunter World, which is a new Monster Hunter game, that's now going to be on the modern consoles instead of just on Nintendo consoles. Shadow of the Colossus Remaster, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Call of Duty, Skyrim, a bunch of VR games, God of War, Detroit, Destiny 2, and Spider-Man. That was the press conference. But do you notice a big omission? There's nothing new. Everything there is already an established IP. They literally, Sony announced no new games at their press conference. Zero. Nothing unexpected. It was just basically, well, here's the games you already know we're working on, and we'll just give you some updates. Rather than, they had no big, like, explosive, boom, look at this bombshell we drop on you, it's a great game or whatever, or boom. They didn't have any of that. And that was pretty disappointing in my opinion, especially because earlier today we watched the Ubisoft press conference, and boy did they have a fucking bombshell with Beyond Good and Evil 2. That surprised the shit out of me. And for Sony to have literally nothing, when Sony has arguably been the winner of E3 for several years running, they seem to always have a really solid press conference, and they, boom, 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 they're really all about the new games and new IPs and new everything. And this year we're just kind of, well, we'll just give you an update on all the stuff that you already knew about. And it really kind of felt, ultimately, by the end of the day, a little bit underwhelming. I was looking for more. So was Sony a bad press conference? Of course not. I mean, a lot of these games are going to be blockbusters. I really feel that they're going to be great AAA blockbuster games. But it is disappointing when Sony has been the leader for a long time, and they come out with a press conference this year with games that we are all expecting to see there, like Last of Us, and, not even in the press conference, and then no updates on certain games like Bloodborne 2, and no big announcements. Like, it is disappointing. Maybe we've all been spoiled. Maybe Sony has been so good at E3 for, so many years running that we have all been kind of spoiled, and we were expecting these giant bombshell after bombshell, and finally we got a year here we didn't get it, and now we're like, and we feel like it's not as good. But, they weren't bad. And it's going to be a tough one this year for people to say, who won E3? I don't know, because there was some really good stuff at pretty much every press conference. So I don't know. I don't really know if I can answer that question. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my recap and reactions video for the Sony press conference. I hope that you enjoyed it. FYI, this is the final official E3 reactions video I'm doing, but I am doing my Hit Live podcast later this week, where I will summarize some of the stuff from all these press conferences, tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, and basically kind of summarize everything. And I'll let you know my thoughts on who actually won E3 this year, and I'd love to hear yours during that event. Check that out this coming Thursday. That'll be June 15, 2017, right here on the King of Hate Vlogs, or live on my stream here on Twitch, okay? That's it, everyone. Thank you for a great E3. 3 fun days of covering all the new stuff for you. Tomorrow I go back to my normal stuff, daily gameplay streams and everything. Thank you. Peace out.